This is the true story and horror story about the daylov Pass incident. The Ural Mountains in late January are not forgiving. Snow falls in thick curtains. The air is so cold it burns when you breathe, and the wind hollows through the valleys like an animal in pain. Yet 9 young Soviet hikers, all experienced, strong, and eager for the challenge, set out for the small town of Ivdel on January 25th, 1959. Their leader, Igor Daylov, was just 23, but already a seasoned mountaineer. He was methodical, disciplined, and respected by the group. With him were Zina Kolmogorova, bright, athletic, cheerful; Lyudomila Dubina, determined with a sharp wit; Yuri Doroshchenko, the tallest and strongest of the group; Rustam Shlobin, a quiet endurance hiker; Alexander Kolovatov, a radio engineering student; Nikolai Thibidix, always smiling even in the cold; Semyon Zolotarov, the oldest, a war veteran; Yuri Kurovitsko, a joker with a harmonica always in his pack. The 10th member, Yuriodin, was already feeling sick and would soon turn back. He didn't know it yet, but that illness would save his life. Their plan to ski and hike through the remote Ural wilderness to reach Outturn Mountain, far from any human settlement. On January 27th, they began the trek. They laughed, took photos, and kept meticulous diaries, the kind of cheerful record that would later become haunting. The group moved steadily north, skiing through deep snow, navigating frozen streams, and camping in the open. The air temperature was often below -20 Celsius, but they were prepared. On January 31st, they reached the edge of a high pass between 2 peaks, Outturn and Kolat Shakel. The name Kolat Shakel in the local Mansi language means mountain of the dead. That night, they set up camp in the forest at the base of the pass. Diaries from that day were still upbeat. They joked about cold feet, snow-filled boots, and their nightly radio broadcast to each other as entertainment. The next morning, they began climbing towards the pass. The weather turned. Wind speeds increased. Snow whipped across their faces and visibly dropped. They lost their intended route and ended up higher on Kola Cycle's slope than planned. Instead of going back downhill to the tree line for shelter, Daylov made a fateful decision. They would camp right there on the exposed slope. February 1st, 1959. The sun set early, and the wind roared over the mountains. The group set up their tent, anchoring it against the snow. They cooked a simple dinner and crawled into their sleeping bags, huddling for warmth. Around midnight, something happened. We will never know exactly what, but at some point, the hikers slashed open the tent from the inside and fled into the night, barefoot, half-dressed, in temperatures below -25 Celsius. Their footprints, preserved in the snow, told a strange story. They walked, not ran, down the slope towards the forest. Some wore only socks, some were barefoot. No sign of struggle, no other footprints. When the hikers didn't return, search parties were sent out in mid-February. On February 26, rescuers found the tent. It was still partly standing, snow-drifted, containing boots, coats, food, and all supplies. The cuts in the fabric were from the inside. Following the trail of footprints, the searchers found the first two bodies at the edge of the forest. Doroshenko and Kurnovonishko. They were lying under a tall cedar tree, barefoot, wearing only underwear. Their hands were scraped and blooded, as if they had tried to climb the tree. Nearby was the remains of a small fire. 3 more bodies were found between the cedar tree and the tent: Daylov, Kolomogrova, and Slobodin. They appeared to have been trying to crawl back uphill towards camp. All were slightly dressed, with no external wounds that would explain their deaths. The cause for all 5 was officially listed as hypothermia. The questions grew. Why leave the tent in such cold without proper gear? What were they fleeing from? It took 2 more months to find the remaining 4 hikers. They were discovered in deep ravine, covered by several feet of snow. These bodies told more chilling stories. Dobina was missing her eyes and tongue. Zolotrovo had his ribs shattered. Thebiok's skull was fractured. The injuries were massive, but with no external cuts, as if caused by a huge pressure, not a weapon. Even stranger, traces of radioactive were found on some of their clothing. The Soviet investigation concluded in May 1959. The cause of death was recorded as unknown completing force. Since then, theories have ranged from Avlinka to military weapons testing, from secret parachute mines to panic, and even UFO encounters. The truth remains unknown. Today, the area is officially called Daylov Pass in memory of the hikers. Hikers still visit the site, but many report strange feelings, a heavy silence, sudden gust of wind, and the sensation of being watched. Yuri Yudin, the sole survivor, spent the rest of his life haunted by what happened to his friends in his final years. He often said, "If I could ask them one thing, it would be, 'What did you see that night?' The mountain never answered."